Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this special edition of the Pro Wrestling Report. Dameon Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius?
It's not Octavius. It's
David Tiberius Herro.
The.
And David, it's been a while since we've done a special edition, and this one's going to be unique. We're going to do this as a monthly special feature, and it is the $1 Million Stars, not the $1 Million Man or Ted DiBiase Jr., but the $1 Million Stars, the stars in professional wrestling right now who could be or are worth $1 million or more to their company. Now, in what categories will that $1 million fall? Several. Will they sell tickets? Will their name on the card bring people into an arena? Will people buy a pay-per-view simply because their name is on the card? Will they deliver ratings by being on television and advertised in such a way that they could deliver those television ratings? Will they equal good merchandise sales? Will they bring in the money from the shirts to the company?
It's all about the shirts.
And are there any cross-promotional opportunities to use them outside of their respective companies and or brands? All of this with the disclaimer of if used properly. So we're not saying when we go through this list of 10 stars from both WWE and TNA that they are currently worth or being paid $1 million. We're saying that if used properly, and properly is a definition that could be defined by anybody out there, but if used properly, could they be worth $1 million or more? These are the stars, David, that every company wants. These are the stars that companies are built around. These are the Hulk Hogans. These are the Ric Flairs. These are the Dusty Rhodeses. These are the biggest stars in professional wrestling that could build and be a company.
The blue chippers is what you're saying.
The main eventers. The showstoppers.
The headlining main eventers.
The icons. So it's going to be a controversial list, to say the least. We both have our list, and we're going to order them from 10 to 1. However, they are in no particular order. So don't ask us why one may have been rated above or below another. They're just the list of guys. And as I said, we can modify that next time we come with you. So now that the rules and steps...
So these are no special order.
No special order, aside from the top guy.
The number one guy.
The number one guy,
Okay.
the most valuable professional wrestler in the business today.
Okay. I like it.
Let's start with our first person on the list. And David, I will start with a star from TNA Wrestling.
Of course.
His name is Ken Anderson. Ken Anderson, who has, as you call, a fire under his ass right now.
He's got a rocket up there.
Rocket up there. He is white hot in TNA. He is probably one of their top stars at this point, and he is a man who his T-shirt sells very well. People want to see him.
T-shirt in TNA.
People want to see him. If his name's on the card, I think people are going to go to the show. If he's in a marquee match on a pay-per-view, a headlining main event on a pay-per-view, I think people are going to consider ordering for that reason. Can it be used elsewhere? Absolutely. He's got acting skills. He's taken acting lessons. He's got some other opportunities that he's been pursuing in the acting realm. Ken Anderson, in my opinion, could be, if utilized properly, which I think they're doing right now, in TNA, could be worth $1 million or more.
I agree. Good-looking guy. He can talk. He's young. He's been in Hollywood. Does movies. Top-selling T-shirt in TNA. He's $1 million dude. I agree with you, David.
He is my first $1 million superstar. David Herro,
Well,
how about yours?
For me, when I think of Money in the Bank, I don't think of Shelton Benjamin.
Or the pay-per-view coming up?
I think Rey Mysterio.
Really?
How many masks do you see in the crowd?
I know a guy that sells them.
Right? Action
In the
figures,
crowd.
Action figures. T-shirts. I mean,
Kid-friendly.
very kid-friendly. I mean, he's had a great career. I know, senior intern Cal has got at least 4 Ray Hoods.
Mm-hmm.
At least
Action figures as well?
At least a dozen of the action figures. He's got the, you go to Toys R Us, you can buy the outfit, the costume. He's got it all.
Rey Mysterio is a bit of a superhero, meaning the way he's presented, the unique look, the masks, the costumes.
Just look at his costumes. He does an Iron Man costume. He'll do a Silver Surfer.
Joker.
Yeah, he does them all. Ray is money. Ray is ratings. And he sells a lot of tickets.
$1 million man.
$1 million man.
All right. Well, next on my list would be a relatively newer superstar to the wrestling business, a man who is back on track to potentially deliver that $1 million plus in revenue to World Wrestling Entertainment, and he is the current WWE champion, Sheamus. Sheamus is a man with
Who?
Sheamus. It's a shame.
Wow.
He's got a unique look.
Wow.
He's got great merchandise.
Wow.
He's marketable. And I think people hate him enough where if his name's on a card or a pay-per-view, they're going to participate in it for that reason. He's got long-term potential, and he is that larger-than-life star that you want your company built around.
I've always been a big Sheamus fan. I like Sheamus a lot. I don't think he's there yet.
He didn't make your list?
He did not make my list.
All right.
That hurts. I know it hurts me a ton.
He's your guy.
He is my guy.
You've been pushing him since last September.
And he's gonna get there, but he's not being used right yet.
But remember the step, if used
Right.
properly.
If used properly, yeah, but he's still not there yet.
All right.
You know.
I will like to say that I did have Rey Mysterio on my list as well. No need to rehash all those reasons.
Just
but,
like I had Ken Anderson on mine.
Okay, well,
you know.
we'll go ahead and cross them off your list
You know,
as well.
so-
Do that.
For me, I gotta say the Divas.
All of them.
Well, a couple.
All right, do tell.
Well, I mean, I think Eve, beautiful woman. I think if used properly, I mean, they could put her on the cover of magazines and they can make a lot of money with her.
Not Playboy,
Well, no.
PG. But does that matter?
No, it
Because
doesn't.
that's potential.
Because she can be on Muscle and Fitness, you know. If they
Rob
use...
Terry's on Muscle and Fitness this month. I ain't lying.
Okay. He's not on my list either. Okay? But I think, you know, and I'm sure...
Not even
some-
an honorable
You know
mention?
what? And here's the thing. I know some people say, oh, the Divas, yeah. Those women make a lot of money for the company.
Mm-hmm.
Back when it was Lita
Well, it
and
sells.
Trish and Terry and all them, and they had their swimsuit magazine,
Yeah.
it sold a ton.
Mm-hmm. But they chose to walk away from that.
They did, but I think that the Divas, done properly, they have a lot of crossover appeal. I think the Divas are $1 million playmates or participants.
Do the Divas sell tickets?
Absolutely.
Do the Divas sell pay-per-views?
No. The Divas are the attention getter. If you're changing the channel,
This is
yeah, because you don't want to watch them wrestle because you're not going to be pleased or you're not going to.
But you're gonna watch 'em
But
wrestle.
you're going to watch them wrestle. You know what I'm saying?
right.
I mean, they all can't bump like Alicia Fox, who is, by the way, our current Divas champion.
Mm-hmm. Good job getting that in.
Has a great ring to it. But you know, I mean, there is a lot of money with the women if done right.
All right. I'm not going to dispute you on that.
Well, you can't.
There has been a lot of money in them. Now, you say the Divas. What about the Knockouts? Same.
They still have a division.
Well,
They only got 4 people.
okay. Thank you. Next, I believe another shared name would be that of TNA superstar Jeff Hardy, who, regardless whether he's in WWE or TNA, could equal $1 million plus for either of those companies, and similar to in the vein of that of Rey Mysterio. Very attractive to kids is Jeff Hardy. He's got that, you know, the face paint. He's got the uniqueness to his look and his costuming and his wrestling attire. People want to get behind Jeff Hardy, and you can't discount the fact that a lot of young ladies like Jeff Hardy.
And honestly, for me, Jeff's on my list as well. Jeff Hardy is this close to being the #1 guy. Yeah,
That close.
because
He made a lot of money for WWE,
here's the thing: women want to see him.
which equals
More guys coming to the show. When there are women in the audience, you are doing something right. Let me tell you. You look at UFC, tons of hot chicks in there.
Mhm.
Okay,
dressed
yeah,
perfectly.
Back in the Attitude Era, there were tons of hot women.
You saw
in
them
the
on TV
arenas,
all the
and they
time.
were there all the time. But Jeff Hardy gets the kids, he gets the women. Of course, the women bring the men. The only thing Jeff Hardy's missing, and this is going to sound odd, is the marquee name. You put Jeff Hardy on the marquee, you're not guaranteed a sellout.
Yeah, good point. But, and that's an interesting point because it sort of is, but it isn't.
Right. He's right there. It's just he'll sell the tickets, but he's not going to sell the pay-per-views. It's easy to fill a 15,000 seat building.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to sell 1 million pay-per-view buys.
Did he do it in WWE though? He had some marquee matches, whether it be with CM Punk or.
But he wasn't always the headlining guy.
He was not always correct.
He still had John Cena on the shows with him.
Now,
And
why is
Triple
there
H
not?
and DX?
We talk about Jeff Hardy, which we both agree is $1 million star. The men don't hate him though. I think John Cena's a bit different, and we haven't listed
Here's
him yet.
why.
But
is because Jeff is cool.
Yeah.
Okay? Jeff is buddies with everybody. John Cena is the company guy. He listens to
Prayers,
Vince.
milk, and vitamins.
More
basically.
than that. More than that. Yeah.
Jeff Hardy shared on our list as a man worth $1 million potentially to TNA Wrestling right now. David, how about next on your side of things?
You know, some people are going to disagree. I think Kevin Nash is $1 million guy. He's had tremendous success in Hollywood. He's been in movies. You go to a TNA event and Kevin Nash comes out, what do you see? Everyone put up the Wolfpack sign.
Untapped.
He has a lot of miles on him.
Yep.
Okay, but you still see the NWO T-shirts out. You still see the Kevin Nash T-shirts. He's marketable. He's 7 feet tall. He sticks out. He's great on the mic. If used properly, he's $1 million guy. In TNA, he's only had one TNA World Title match, and that's back
One?
when, I believe so. That's
Last 3 years or so, one match, one title match.
It's been more than 3 years. It was against Jeff Jarrett, and that's when they were still NWA TNA.
He's been global champion, clearly tag team champions.
Legends.
Really, only one.
He was
World
never.
title.
And he's never
And he
even
didn't
had
even
the
win it.
Yeah. But Kevin Nash is a marketable guy because
Now, go ahead.
people recognize him.
Absolutely. When Kevin Nash was on top in WWE in 1995-ish,
Mhm.
and then in WCW in 1996-ish, was he $1 million value player?
Absolutely. In WCW, he was.
WWE,
NWO,
though? Those were dark days in WWE, and I don't credit that to Nash, but I mean, we
No.
talked recently about the main event of SummerSlam.
But back then,
95.
that's when you had gimmicks like TL Hopper and Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Those are $1 million
and
players
the
for sure.
Goon. It was too carney-ish back then. But yeah, I think Kevin Nash is a money guy.
Will that opportunity be allowed to present itself?
I don't think so.
How much more of a window is there
For
for Kevin
Nash?
Nash?
I think Kevin Nash will always be a draw in wrestling. He may not be the Wolfpack Kevin Nash or NWO Kevin Nash or even Diesel Kevin Nash, but he still has a presence about him when he comes to the ring, larger than life. And the fans, even though some think he sucks as a wrestler, you know, he's not in the Cody Rhodes, you know, whatever
Echelon.
but he still gets a great reaction from it. They teamed him with Eric Young and got a great reaction.
Let's book it now.
Sheamus
Kevin
versus
Nash.
Kevin Nash?
No, Kevin Nash. Great match, by the way. Or great marquee names on a match card. Kevin Nash, given the point you made about the one title opportunity with Jeff Jarrett, he comes out 1 week, says that. I'm getting screwed here. I'm going after the title. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there.
Mhm.
Will the fans have enough compassion to follow him on that journey? I'm
Depends
thinking
who-
Jake
it
the Snake
depends-
96.
It depends who the champion is.
Good point.
If it's RVD, it's going to be weird. You know?
You got a lot of fans out there, though, that say these old stars shouldn't get those chances. Kevin Nash falls
Those
into that
old
category
stars are the
amongst
guys
fans.
that still draw the money. You know what's funny is people complained about TNA house shows, there are no stars on them. Kevin Nash goes on there, and they sell an extra 500-600 tickets.
TNA deserves that reputation for the house shows they chose to put on over the course of the last couple of years. They've significantly changed their house show presentation for the better, but it's going to take a while for that to stick. Kevin Nash. Can't say I expected that, but a good choice. Next on my list would be a man who is certainly making a lot of money right now for himself and WWE, and that is the Viper, Randy Orton. Another person, again, the consistency throughout this list is that unique look, that superstar quality. Randy Orton, he's a big dude as well. Actually, until you see him in person,
He's
I
like
don't know if you can
6'4",
realize how
6'5".
tall and how big he is. And he has such a distinctive personality, one that you really believe in, whether you agree or disagree with what it presents, one that you really believe in, and that's what you talk about as it pertains to emotional attachment. People can get emotionally behind or against Randy Orton very easily. You talk about the tattoos, the merchandise, the look, the attitude. He is unique, and he is $1 million player in my opinion. Unlike a Jeff Hardy, as you said earlier, put Randy Orton's name on top of the card against just about anybody, aside from that WrestleMania 26 debacle, you got money right there.
Randy Orton's a star. He's a big star. Is he?
On your list?
Oh, he's definitely on my list. But he's still missing something. You know?
Something.
I don't know if it's because he hasn't had a good opportunity to sell a lot of merchandise.
There's been a lot of crappy programs lately.
Well, and a lot of crappy T-shirts.
This
You
latest
know?
one with the eyes, pretty cool.
It's all right.
It
He
screams
only
wrestling,
He
though.
only has one.
No,
He needs a little bit more. But here's the other thing. Randy doesn't talk that much.
not at all.
So,
But isn't that part of the character?
yeah, but it's hard to get emotionally invested when the guy doesn't give you anything
What are you
back.
getting behind? Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Randy Orton definitely. The funny thing about Randy Orton is he's called the Viper.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's a dig at some other reptile that used to be in the company?
I don't think a dig, but I think an opportunity to capitalize.
The rattlesnake?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a shot.
Really? Why would they shoot at Austin?
Because I just have a funny hunch.
Who, if he were an active participant in professional wrestling, would be on the top of this list?
He'd be in the top two.
Biggest moneymaker ever, Austin or Hogan? Hogan had longer period of time.
You know what? But you can't compare.
Different eras, different times, different
Completely.
things.
Because here's the thing. Back when Hogan was, Hulkamania brother in the 80s, there was no website to order T-shirts from. You had to order them through a catalog.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
or at the events.
Or at the events. Now, when Austin 316 was there, you could order them on the Shop Zone.
Yeah.
I mean, Austin had 4 or 5 years of $20+ million in merchandise alone.
It's huge.
That's $100+ million in merch.
It's huge.
Yeah, nobody will ever top that.
Shared on both our lists, the Viper, Randy Orton, David Herro. How about the next name on the list of the $1 million superstars?
I like Triple H. He's
The
got
cerebral assassin.
he's got the marquee name. The casual wrestling fans may not recognize the name alone. Maybe if you mention,
I think they do. I think, you ask people, casual fans, you ask people who may not watch every week, wrestlers. Oh, yeah, and you know how...
but you gotta preface it with DX Triple H, and then they'll get it.
No, I think, if I say to somebody, I'm going down to the arena to watch wrestling, or yeah, I like those guys. Steve Austin, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. He's in that list,
No, he's there. I like him. He's $1 million player because of what he brings. He's either the best heel you got in the company, or he's one of the top babyfaces you got.
At any
so he's
point,
always going to draw
way,
money.
yeah.
Either way, he's going to draw you money. But he's there, definitely there. But he could easily fall out of my top 10.
So he's on the cusp.
He's on the cusp.
Triple H also on my list, and I think Triple H is underrated in the business. And that's a controversial statement because a lot of people think his influence is too heavy in the business. When I say underrated, Triple H has an amazing mind for the business. He knows how to work everybody over, whether he is that heel, whether he is that face. And I first realized this, WrestleMania 22 in Chicago. It's the first WrestleMania where I went to all the festivities, press conference, Slammies, all, whatever it was that year. And he just was always on. He was always working. I remember the press conference at the Chicago Theater. He's talking about the match with John Cena. He's like, it's going to be the easiest night of my life. All along, he knew he was losing. And he worked everybody so perfectly. That is when I gained substantial respect for Triple H. And Triple H worked very hard to get where he is. Granted, he's married to the boss's daughter. But he worked very long. It took a lot of punishment.
He had to gain the trust of the boss to marry his daughter.
Someone said recently that as much heat as Triple H gets for having married Stephanie, few people look at the risk he took in marrying Stephanie.
It could have been career suicide. Mm-hmm.
Triple H certainly a $1 million player in the world of professional wrestling. Next on the list, David Herro, I would have to say, is probably going to be a little controversial, and that would be that of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, currently in TNA Wrestling.
How is that controversial?
Controversial because a lot of people say he's not really doing much for them since he's been brought on board. What really has changed substantially in TNA?
He may not be spiking a rating. Mm-hmm. By the way, he is my number one guy.
He is your top.
He is my top
he
guy.
He is your number one, your best, your most valuable player.
Hulk Hogan can walk into any room, any TV studio, any media, whatever, and he will get an interview.
Yeah.
Okay? With the exception...
On name alone.
On name alone. There's only one other guy on my list that could probably do it.
Don't spoil it.
I won't, and he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay? But Hulk Hogan, He's been on Rachel Ray, Larry King, Oprah. He's been his name. You put his name on a pay-per-view, people are going to buy it.
His name was on the pay-per-view for Lockdown.
But we're talking about a company that people still don't know about.
Yeah.
Okay? Hogan versus Rock.
Wow.
What sold that pay-per-view?
Hogan versus Rock.
Exactly.
What do people remember about that pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Hogan versus Rock.
What was the main event?
Triple H, Jericho?
Yeah. And you had to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Hogan versus Rock.
If used properly, meaning if Hogan were at every house show, just as a special attraction, signing
Absolutely.
autographs, selling the hell out of whatever he wants to sell, continuing to do those media appearances, being used sparingly on TV and in wrestling matches on TNA, which they're doing a little bit more now than they did initially. Hogan's certainly valuable.
I'm telling
certainly
you
worth
right
$1 million
now,
plus for that company.
you take an equal event, advertise equally in the same market. You put John Cena in building A, Hulk Hogan in building B, a block apart. And the fans get to choose one guy to go meet.
Mm-hmm. To meet, not to see wrestle,
It
not to
doesn't-
see as part of the show, but to meet.
Either
No,
or.
that's
no, either
to
or.
wrestle as well.
Either or.
Okay.
I guarantee the dads are going to say, forget this guy. We're going to go see Hulk Hogan, the guy that I grew up watching.
But are the dads making that decision?
Yes, they will, because they got the money to buy the ticket.
But the kid is the influence. The kid wants to see who
Hogan,
right now. Kid wants to see Cena.
2-1, Hogan over Cena.
If WWE sold opportunities to meet John Cena, and we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here,
Mhm.
and TNA sold opportunities to meet Hulk Hogan, I think Cena wins.
No. We said if done properly. So
Yes.
you can't bring TNA into the equation because it's not being done
If a
properly.
okay, good, valid point. I don't agree that in a wrestling exhibition, Hogan would outsell Cena. I agree on a personal meet and greet opportunity, Hogan would outsell
Pick an
Cena.
opponent for Cena.
Pick an opponent.
Anyone.
Anybody?
Anybody you want.
We'll go with Triple H.
Okay. You have Cena versus Triple H, Hogan versus Triple H.
Hogan versus Triple H.
All right. And why?
It's just more
Because you
important.
want to see 5 H's in one match.
Hulk Hogan, you're number one. You're most valuable
Number-
man in professional wrestling right now.
I will stamp the DHHS on that.
So far on the list has been Ken Anderson, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, the WWE Divas, Kevin Nash, Rey Mysterio, and Triple H, along with David Herro's top guy, Hulk Hogan.
He is the Babe Ruth of wrestling.
I don't doubt that. Next on your list, David Herro.
John Cena.
Obvious.
Who really is my number 3 guy.
Obvious.
You know?
Do tell.
I just did.
You told everybody who, but you didn't necessarily say why.
Because he sells so much merchandise. And that alone, he's $1 million guy.
Yeah.
His
And he
movie-
sells tickets
listen,
for sure.
Listen to this. His movies absolutely suck.
12
Okay?
rounds wasn't that bad of a movie.
Listen, I've heard from people in the movie industry
Mm-hmm.
that the only way John Cena will ever do another movie is if Vince pays for the whole thing. Because he can't draw a dime in the theaters.
Did
So-
you see 12 rounds?
No.
Give it a chance. It really was.
I heard it was.
Aside from his
I
horrible
heard
acting.
it was the best bad movie they've ever seen.
No, that was See No Evil. Aside from his bad acting, 12 rounds wasn't bad. It had a good story. Had a great
Besides
story.
of his bad. Why would I want to watch it then?
John
I'd
Cena
rather watch a
also,
Salma Hayek movie.
John Cena
Frida
also on my
with
list,
the
and I
big
think
unibrow.
our conversation about Hulk Hogan and John Cena sort of sums up why John Cena is on that list. Biggest moneymaker for sure for WWE right now.
Yeah, he has to be. I mean, there's 50-year-old men wearing those orange T-shirts in the crowd. It's kind of disturbing.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's very disturbing.
Maybe they buy him just because the kid wants him.
Then why are they wearing them?
Next on the list of the $1 million superstars, stars worth $1 million or more to their respective companies if used properly, Chris Jericho.
He's not on my list.
Chris Jericho, he just has everything. He is
No, he
the
doesn't.
perfect star.
No, he doesn't.
What's he lacking?
He doesn't have merchandise.
Never really. Well, I would say when he first came into WWE, he was good
Okay.
on big on merchandise.
He hasn't had one since.
Yeah,
His crossover appeal is the game show and VH1.
and his band.
which nobody goes to see except the people overseas. And that's no slight at you at all. The people here don't care about Fozzy, you know? I like Jericho. He's extremely talented. He's funny. He's witty. You know, he gets it. But
can't fans hate him enough to maybe not buy the merchandise, but to see him get his ass kicked?
yeah, but
Which equals tickets, equals pay-per-view buys, equals ratings.
no,
No, they can't hate him that much.
no,
You've said, though, that he is one of the best heels in the business.
he is. And what does that say about the business right now?
A lot.
You tell me one guy you'd pay to see Jericho wrestle. AJ Styles, maybe?
Jericho's like, and he's still on my list, and I still stand behind it, but Jericho is I don't want to say mid-card, because he's not mid-card, but it's almost like what you said about Jeff Hardy. If his name's on the marquee, is it a big enough name? Jericho's great for that mid-level, excellent wrestling matchup that will tell a great story. Rey Mysterio, obviously the latest series with Evan Bourne, he's been in that position for a very long time, and he's great at it.
Here's the thing with Jericho. You know how everyone says Edge is the greatest opportunist of all time?
Yeah.
Jericho's better. Because he was getting a lot of steam in WCW, and then he crossed over. And they capitalized on how much the fans liked him and put him in a promo with The Rock on his first night. Jericho then retires by John Cena. He comes back when they needed somebody to save the company.
November 18, 2006 or 7?
Maybe. So Jericho has been able to pick and choose his spots when he comes and goes. He's there mostly because of need, not because of...
But if Jericho
his draw.
didn't equal money, would he have headlined so many WrestleManias? Because he's had a bunch.
But who has
Not
he
a
had-
bunch, he's had a good amount.
But look who he's been with. He's never had to
Triple
carry
H,
it by himself.
Edge,
And Edge,
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
But here's the thing: when his match with Edge, that wasn't the main event.
No. Well, it was the SmackDown brand main event.
Okay, it
It was
number
one of the
three.
main events.
It was number
Okay.
3.
Yes.
So he's never headlined it where he's been the main attraction. It was a returning Triple H.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Okay. Good
With
point.
a pound sign in front of it.
Hashtag.
Yeah.
I still think he, if
Aztec
used
is Rey
properly,
Mysterio, by the way.
if used properly, can be worth $1 million to a company.
Is it hot in here?
A little bit. David Herro. It is time for the final star on this
Oh,
list.
We already gave the final star a little bit.
You gave
ago.
your top.
Yeah.
I have not yet given mine, and this is the last one. He's actually on both of our lists.
Yes.
A man who, again, and there's so many similarities between a lot of these names on this list, which sort of tells you the qualities needed to be that value guy in professional wrestling. And the final guy we're going to talk about today would be The Undertaker, a man who is a perennial favorite, a man who his name on any card sells everything, his merchandise huge, not as big as it once was, of course, but huge. The only challenge is how much more can he give? And that's why we say if used properly, that's sort of a two-way street as it pertains to The Undertaker. His body's in pretty bad shape.
Body's beat.
Yeah, and he's been at this straight for 20-plus years. And we know the fall break and the summer break that The Undertaker typically takes. Now he's out with some pretty substantial injuries. But he is a man that just simply by name alone equals money for World Wrestling
The
Entertainment.
only problem with Taker is on the marquee, he'll sell out a building.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do anything crossover.
His character limits that.
The
limits his
last
ability
movie
to
he
do that,
was
right?
in was in Suburban Commando, I think.
He was in that?
Yeah.
You've seen that, but not 12 rounds.
Yeah.
Did you watch Thunder in Paradise when it was on TNT?
Absolutely I did. Who didn't?
I didn't.
Well, I guess you were probably working.
We'll go with that.
No, Taker's $1 million guy, but he's limited also. That's why for me Hogan is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Because he,
Well, don't say Hogan's not limited.
in the ring he's limited, but
Yeah,
when it comes
okay,
to making
understood.
money,
Yeah.
and you know what, there's one other guy I would have put on the list, but he's not active, it's The Rock. He's the other guy that can go into any place and get an interview. And he draws kids, men and women.
How can The Undertaker be used in such a way, though? in such a way
He
that
won't because he protects his gimmick so much.
more so than almost anybody has ever
I
protected
think the last
theirs.
interview I've seen Undertaker on was Arsenio Hall.
He was at Arsenio,
Yes. Yeah, he just sat there.
which is funny.
It is funny.
Actually, I remember that now. Yes, he
Uh-huh.
did just sit there.
He just
wasn't
sat
Paul Bearer on with him.
Paul Bearer was with
yeah.
him, yeah. You know, that's the problem with Taker. $1 million guy, absolutely, because of his longevity of his career and his gimmick, that people will always buy something Undertaker because he's been around for so long.
And you've got the nostalgia factor, you've got the current popularity, and you've got the coolness of the character and the gimmick and the angle.
I agree. But he's number 2.
Undertaker, my number 1. Hogan, David Herro's number 1. Let's go down the list again, David, of the $1 million stars in professional wrestling. In no particular order aside from he who sits at the top. Ken Anderson, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Hulk Hogan, David Herro's number 1. Chris Jericho,
The Divas.
Rey Mysterio, Triple H, Kevin Nash, John Cena, and The Undertaker.
And Hulk Hogan, number 1.
This list took a lot of work. We've been talking about it for 2 weeks now.
Yeah. My head's actually throbbing because of it.
And there's probably a bunch of honorable mentions. One I would say might be Edge, but really, not $1 million player.
You got a fever? Edge? $1 million guy?
I said, I think there's going to be a lot of discussion out there in the IWC about this list.
You know who could be in there is Kurt Angle.
Right.
He's an honorable mention guy. He could
Today?
actually...
Today, you're
If
saying
used
Kurt Angle, if used
properly,
properly,
today,
might
yes.
get close to being worth $1 million.
Yes.
Merchandise sales?
If they
Tickets?
had some cool merch, yeah.
Isn't Kurt Angle, who recently said he's about ready to retire, isn't he, due to his usage recently, isn't he a bit
Broken down.
undervalued?
You watch. They're going to bring Kurt Angle back. He'll be headlining a pay-per-view shortly.
The pond's not big enough.
Oh, it's Kurt Angle it is. Dixie loves him.
I think the same challenges that exist with Hulk Hogan.
You don't
exist
think
with
Kurt Angle is the best star in TNA?
Defined star.
The top talent in TNA?
As far as professional wrestling, I think
Yes.
it's a tie between him and AJ Styles.
Okay.
Feel free to send us your lists. Visit us at pwrshow.com. And
Send them to him. I don't want to see him.
we'll have this discussion
I
again
really don't.
soon. We'll bring these special editions to you
Because
monthly.
they're going to have AJ on there and all their...
But, well, let's again go down the criteria then and how we came to the names on this list. They got to be able to sell tickets. They got to put asses in the seats.
Mm-hmm.
They got to be able to sell merchandise.
Absolutely.
Not just a few, but some of the most of any available. And they got to have multiple versions of merchandise. They got to be able to sell by their being on the cover of a DVD. They got to be able to sell that. They have to have cross-promotional opportunities, whether it be interviews, guest starring, hosting shows such as Saturday Night Live. Things, all the stuff Hogan did, by the way.
He set the standard.
They've got to deliver ratings, meaning you advertise a match with them on it, people will tune in. They've got to equal pay-per-view buys. Their name being on the pay-per-view card will make people order it. And they must be used properly. It's not saying these names are, but they could be if were used properly. So those are the criterion. Those are the steps, if you will, for this
And they're our
list.
rules, by the way.
I'm sorry?
They're our rules.
So
We're
we
not
can
going
make
to
them,
follow
break
them.
them,
Don't
change
send
them
it
as we
in.
go.
Yeah.
And we are intrigued to see your list, which we'll publish at pwrshow.com for the world to see. Just send those in to us. So, David, that was our first special edition of the $1 Million Stars in Professional Wrestling. Until next time, this is Dameon Nelson sitting alongside David Octavius Herro.
It's not Octavius.
Thank you for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report.